Dr. John Braccio, my good friend, drjohnb.com on the web, Regional Psychological Services, ADHD. You hear it a lot. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. All my life, I think teachers and people and relatives have said, Michael, focus. Michael just said, Michael, focus. Michael. My response has always been, I don't want to focus. I kind of like not, but doing a lot, doing different things. Let's get into that, though, because it can be debilitating at work. Doc, good morning. Nice to have you with us.
Well, good morning, Mike. And you're right. Many persons with ADHD are able to cope with it and even use the extra energy, if you will, to be even more successful than they might be. But let's talk here a bit about the workplace with our issues. Okay, I personally have worked with and evaluated many persons with ADHD over the decades where the characteristics they exhibit in the workplace negatively impact their ability to effectively fulfill their job requirements. This is true with many persons who are working in areas they personally love and went through extensive training to be able to do. It's not a lack of ability, okay, or desire. No, it's really not that at all. And I want to do one thing, though, before I identify, okay, before I identify the characteristics that persons have that exhibit ADHD, it's important to not include in this group persons who by choice do not work to their ability and do not try to function to their highest level and as a result find themselves having problems in the workplace. No, we're talking about persons who have ADHD and are having problems in the workplace because of it but have not been diagnosed. As a result, they've received no medical or mental health suggestions for overcoming it. Persons with ADHD have some combination of the characteristics of lack of focus and attention, impulsivity, hyperactivity, and procrastination. When undiagnosed and untreated, the impact can be devastating in the workplace. And characteristics, now these would be overall characteristics of ADHD that negatively impact the person in the workplace would include poor focus on required activities, time blindness or losing track of time, inability to focus on tasks, high error rate due to a lack of focus and inattention, joblessness over time due to poor work performance, a poor team member on projects that require team effort to complete them, poor productivity, stress-related work absences, stigma of having the ADHD label, mind travel from one thought to another when paying attention is critical, procrastination, problems with organizing activities, problems with prioritizing activities, distractibility, impulsivity, and poor memory. Now, it's important to remember that no one, Mike, really has all of these characteristics, but even a few of them can cause you problems in doing effective work in the workplace. If you feel you have any of these characteristics and they're negatively impacting you in your job performance, then I would suggest you seek out really an ADHD evaluation by psychologists and receive appropriate medication and mental health recommendations consistent with your specific needs. A trained therapist in ADHD and the resulting potential negative impact in the workplace could be helpful. First step really is to determine if you have it, if you have ADHD, and if so, what can be done to best help you overcome the characteristics that really, if they're negatively impacting you in the workplace. So a lot of persons can have characteristics of ADHD, but they've learned to cope with them, and they can even really channel them into being even more successful because of this extra energy that they have and their need to focus on things that they really could catch their attention and they can really focus. But for many persons, they're not able to do this, and looks like their mind's going 100 different ways, and they're always saying, like, get back here, keep your mind here, don't fly away, Chucky, whatever it might be. So it can have some real negative impact in the workplace.
My folks always said I could not have landed in any other occupation other than what I've done all my life, which is this. Because I was constantly they were sending notes home. Michael talks to everybody too much. Michael doesn't pay attention. Michael this, Michael that. And so God put me in a good spot, I think, of something where I could channel that. But how do you know? I think everybody has a little bit of ADHD. What are the tests that you do?
I think in terms of the person individually, if they start getting all these messages like you're talking about, Michael, when the people, your teachers were saying, Michael's not paying attention, Michael's not doing this. If you start getting to the point that you start having these characteristics, you can't focus, you're not getting things done, you're constantly being reprimanded, okay, and even when you're well-intentioned, if you're in there and you really can't focus. So when we meet with somebody, we meet with them, we talk to them, we gather information, we do testing, we sort out, we get history, we try to find out exactly what makes the person tick. And what happens with a lot of people too, Mike, they think this is just, quote, the way the world is, and they don't fully understand that they have these characteristics that are negatively impacting on them. So if all of a sudden at work you're not getting your projects done, you're not focusing correctly, you're having time blindness, you lose track of time. Like you have a project that you're supposed to have done by, say, noon, and your mind is going 100 different ways, and all of a sudden it's noon, and you have not done what you're supposed to do at all, and not by intention. It's just you've been sidetracked. You've been thinking about this. You've been thinking about that. And when people start having problems with this, it can really impact them in relationships. We're talking about work today. So if you start having these things happen and you really can't quite figure it out why, you just know it's happening. You just know you're different than those folks around you, and that you can even be getting people upset with you, not just management, but coworkers too. Like if you're always talking or always thinking about this or philosophizing, overanalyzing things that don't relate to what's being done, you're going to run into issues. And if you start having errors at work, not doing things right, then that's when people will begin to realize that something is going on there. And persons we evaluate, most of them have been told many times by people, you really do have ADHD. You really need to work on these things. It's almost like you need, cement shoes to keep you on the ground. You kind of float away like a helium balloon,
But don't you think some of the world's the biggest thinkers, the geniuses, the Albert Einstein, Elon Musk, for crying out loud, don't you think some of these folks are ADHD and it's been good for them?
Absolutely. If you can channel this energy, because you have to remember, persons with ADHD often have an ability to focus on things that catch their attention for limitless amounts of time. I mean, they can spend hours and hours and hours on things that catch their attention. The problem is they can't focus on things they don't have a lot of interest in, and the mind just goes off in 100 different ways. It's like, the mind flies away, just has these different thoughts. But if the person finds something, like you said, you found in the radio world, okay, and you have found that podcast, you have found your place, that you can channel this energy, what you have, in a good way, okay? Now, if people say, golly, Mike talks to everybody, well, of course you do. That's what you do. That's what you are, and you gather a lot of information. You become quite intelligent by just picking up a lot of information.
I don't know about that, but I've never been. Do you think a lot of people go undiagnosed? I've never tested, or I've just had people tell me it.
Well, here's the thing, though, Mike. You've got to remember, you found a career that you succeed in, that you like. If you were to the point you could succeed, like let's just say that in the morning you forgot who you, or didn't really forget, you just didn't get around to calling people at the right time. Like, oh my goodness, I was going to call Bill, at 9:15, and here it is 11 already. My goodness, what does this mean? So the problem becomes, can you function? It's true. In life, it's channeling. If you have ADHD and you do have these issues, we'll say the primary things of lack of focus and attention, some hyperactivity, impulsivity, some combination of those, then that can really negatively impact you. And if you find out you have those and they're really negatively impacting, that's when a person seeks an evaluation or really tries to sort out what's going on and try to function more effectively, because it really is true. Persons with ADHD often do have far more energy they're divergent thinkers because they have all these thoughts coming into their mind. If it can be controlled, you can become a very successful person. And really, like you say, the Einsteins of the world, the Cooks of the world, people that are very, very successful, they've been able to channel this extra energy, this extra thinking, if you will, in a positive way that leads to them being very successful. So it doesn't have to be a horrible life where you don't get along with people, you can't focus effectively in the workplace, which does impact at the extreme. Some people, yes, you don't want that to happen to you. You want to be in control and be successful, whether it's with mental health suggestions, whether it's with medication, whatever, some combination thereof, whatever it is, you want to be a happy and successful person in the workplace. That should be the goal of all of us if we're going to be working.
Well, and the company you work for should want you to function at a good level. So they'll probably have something in their HR department, insurance program, or something like that to get you evaluated, get you taken care of.
Well, that's true, because under the American Disabilities Act, it is, if you have a disability and you're having issues and you need some accommodation, then that is something that can be done, worked into. Not everyone, in fact, probably most don't do that, but those that do may need it to. Yeah. But persons even, having earplugs that they're dealing with, trying to, focus. Sometimes medications can be helpful. Adderall, things like that can be helpful. Or just really planning differently, looking. You have times like you'll work 20 minutes and you're going to take a couple-minute break. Whatever it might be, any tools that you can use that can help you focus. Because a lot of times person will read and they'll read it over and over again because they're really not paying attention. They lose attention in the middle of their reading, and they say, "Oh my goodness, I've got to go back and read this again." So there are
all the time.
Techniques. Well, you're used to that.
All the time. It takes me forever to read somebody's book, and I get books sent to me. I always ask them, "Send me your book," and I get them in the mail, and then I'll get an email. "Hey, what'd you think of the book?" "Well, I'm on the first chapter." Here's how I and I'm not diagnosed or anything like that, but here's how I deal with it. I married someone who's super hyper focused, and I let her handle it.
Idea.
I go like, "Can you get me that? Do we have that thing? Take care of that." "Yeah, there you go." As my mom would say, "Michael, you make the snowballs and you expect Lisa to throw them." "Well, okay. All right, fine." Doc, we're up on time, buddy. ADHD at work, though. For productivity, it probably would behoove you, and maybe it's just a couple of exercises, things like that to